Hey, camp friends and family. I'm Stacie. I'm the Director of Programs and Marketing, and I'm back with another vlog episode for you. And even though we're doing some social distancing, I wanted to connect with one of our camp nurses. This is Cindy. Wave at us, Cindy. All right, so she's here today. We're just going to ask her some questions about healthcare at camp, and hopefully this will answer some of your questions. So first question for you, Cindy. Tell us about how long you've been a nurse and maybe some of your professional experiences.
Okay, so I have been a pediatric nurse for 37 years. Most of that was, well, I'd say 16 years of it was in the hospital setting, and the last 21 years have been in the clinic setting, anywhere from ages newborn to through high school age. And I've been a camp nurse. When my kids were younger, I was a camp nurse for 3 full summers. And then I have been a camp nurse for Camp Wyoming for a few weeks of each summer for the last 4 years. I'm also a CPR teacher. I've been doing that for 8 years.
Awesome. So we feel really privileged to have Cindy's experience with us every summer. She comes and helps out with setting up our health center and training some of our staff and getting all that done. So we just feel really lucky to have her with us. So Cindy, when kids arrive at camp for check-in, if they are taking medication, they have to check in with you or with the nurse that week. So tell us about that process and why it's important, but also tell us, I know a lot of parents, you get to check in and you're waiting in lines. How can they prepare in order to quickly move through their check-in with you?
Good question. Yeah, so if the kid is on any medications or if they have health concerns that they want to discuss with the nurse, there's always a nurse at check-in. The basic reason is to go through the child's medication, try to keep the medications on the same type of schedule that they're on at home, and continue medications that they're used to and they've been on. Now, this can be over-the-counter medications or prescription medications. I would suggest, to make things easier for the parent and the nurse, make sure that the medication is in its original container with the correct instructions. If you give me an old container that has maybe different instructions or it says it's expired, not real comfortable giving expired meds, even if you tell me that they're not. So I think that that's important to make sure it's in the correct container. And if the directions have changed, just bring a note from the doctor saying the child's on this now instead of this, or dosage difference or things like that, twice a day instead of once a day, anything like that. So I would say that that's an important issue. The other thing is make sure that they have ADHD medication. If they're on that during the school year, we do encourage them to be on it at camp also, simply because it's more structured than just being at home. They're doing a lot of structured activities with other kids and just group activities and things like that. So we do encourage them to stay on it during the time that they're at camp. That, as well as inhalers and EpiPens. Both of them are extremely important, and even if your child has never had to use the EpiPen or doesn't take the inhaler very frequently, we require them to have it at camp if they've been prescribed it by a doctor. And the reason for that is, when you're at camp, you're out in, there's grass and trees and woods and mold and fire smoke and more bees and things like that. So we would, under normal circumstances, may not need it at home, but they need it here. They're running around, it's humid, it's hot, things like that. So you may think that they don't, but we need to have it in case they do need it.
Awesome. So tell me, you've been working at other camps, but also with us for the past 4 summers. What's your favorite part about getting to work with the kids at camp?
I just love getting to know the kids. Now, I don't get to know all of them, but I certainly get to know the ones that come down to the health center for any issues at all. And it's mostly just building trust and having them feel comfortable in trusting me to help them and to encourage them. And then as I see them throughout the day, I may ask, hey, how's your headache, or things like that. And I just love getting to know the kids.
So, we talked about the check-in process and, how you're going to dispense regular and prescribed medication, but you also work with the kids who get sick or maybe need other medical attention when they're at camp. What do you think is like the number one thing that kids come to the health center for?
I would say number one is stomach issues, as far as maybe just an upset stomach. And most of the time, that is related to homesickness, just a little bit about homesickness. It can happen to anybody. It does happen more often with the younger children or the children that aren't used to being away from home. And it's not an uncommon thing, but I would encourage parents to talk to their kids before they come to camp. Let them know that it's okay to feel a little bit afraid or lonely or anxious. It's okay to feel that way. Let your child know that that they can do it. You trust that they'll do well, and then encourage them. Try new things and try to maybe even write home when they have some downtime or rest time period or something like that. Write home. Send your kids some paper, pens, stamped addressed envelopes that they can just mail something. And camp does have a mailing system that we use that they can get mail every day. So we encourage parents to also send letters to them. You can even drop them off, one for the day, for each day of the week when you check them in and things like that. So I would encourage that, to let them know that. The other thing probably that we see the most is the headaches. And a lot of that has to do with the heat, the humidity, they're running around a lot, and possibly dehydration or just not drinking enough. So we always encourage the parents, bring a water bottle, tell your child to have that. We encourage them to have the water bottle with them in all activities, and make sure they have their name on it.
Yes, water bottle is probably one of the most essential things to pack before you head to camp.
It is.
So what kind of safety practices have you seen Camp Wyoming put in place to best protect our kids and staff?
So I think that the staff is well trained. Camp Wyoming does a pretty intense training before the kids come, weeks before they come. And the training, involves simple things too, like how to deal with homesickness or bug bites or nettles or any number of things, and then obviously there's always a camp nurse there too, which a lot of camps don't have a camp nurse on a regular basis. So I think Camp Wyoming is they set that as a priority, to take care of the kids. The staff actually, they carry a fanny pack with a first aid kit. They have that at all times. They have the child's inhalers and EpiPens. That is kept with the counselor, so that anytime the child needs it, they just ask the counselor, and the counselor can then monitor them and things like that. So there is a health check and a head check process when they first come to camp. And then staff is also trained like in CPR and first aid both. They have certified lifeguards. So I think the camp does a wonderful job in training these staff to deal with multiple issues.
So, you've been out at camp with us for a number of years now. How do you feel like you've seen camp benefit kids?
Boy, that's a loaded question, because it benefits them in so many ways. Not only friendships, but just being out on their own, doing things that they've never done before, trying things, encouraging each other, team building, things like that. There's also, you hear from kids all the time that, they learn so much about God and how to walk with God and how to connect with God, and that it's okay to talk about God with other friends and stuff, which sometimes doesn't come up in a school setting or friend setting.
All right. Well, thank you, Cindy, for joining us today on Zoom. And parents, hopefully this answered a lot of your questions about how we do care for kids while they're at camp and what our healthcare looks at. And as always, if you have any questions, you can email us at office@campwyoming.net. And we hope that you'll register for this summer. We'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Camp.
Bye.
Bye.